she wasn't breathing when she came out. Her heart was beating, but she wasn't breathing. What? Yeah. Okay, first video with me in my short hair. As you can see behind me, we're gonna be doing a little newborn photo shoot. I wanted to do this with Wesson, but yeah, he's definitely not a newborn anymore, and that never happened. I still want to get pictures of him someday, but he might just be, you know, 9 months old when that happens. My friend just had a baby like a week and a half ago maybe, and she was in the NICU. Actually, my friend Shelby, her name's Shelby, love her so much, she's like one of my bestie gals. I talk to her all the time, go to her for all the advice. I think she's just so smart, and we grew up like a lot alike. She has a bunch of, not a bunch of brothers, she only has 2 brothers, but anyways, we're just a lot alike. So yeah, she had her baby, Sterling Ray. She is beautiful and so tiny. I just met her yesterday and held her, and she feels like a pillow. But she was in the NICU for a week, or actually a little over a week. Yeah, a little over a week. Shelby had a very traumatic birth, and labor and everything. And so did Sterling. So she's gonna tell her story there. She told me that she felt comfortable. I didn't even ask. I did not ask for her to do this. I obviously respect her and her privacy or whatever, but she's wanting to. I think it's just therapeutic to get it out. It's definitely gonna help a lot of people, because I know people, like, and it's also, this all happened during COVID. So emergency C-section, baby being life flighted. She was life flighted to the NICU. So I'm not gonna share too much of her story because I want her to share it all. Sterling's doing good. Let me put that out there. She's doing so good. So cute. Anyways, I want Shelby to be able to tell that story. So behind, we have all these lights. I need to set the lights up. They're gonna be here any minute. Sterling, Shelby, and Michael. Grant likes me with my short hair. He wants me to cut it shorter. He thinks I'm hot. He was telling Weston that all his friends in high school are gonna think I'm hot. Okay. That was followed by a thorough measurements down. Now, there's 2 reasons why I like to start by cleaning areas like wheel wells in this manner. Which is firstly, that after applying and reapplying as much as you try to get them clean. Just kidding, I was gonna do a cool shot there. I mean, I think it's cool, but I need to get out the white sheet. Back here, I have like some backdrop colors. Oh, this is such a bad angle from behind the camera. I have like some whites, black, red, blue, and something else. But I'm gonna do white. I never chose purple. The people before had purple back there. Okay, let me get it out. Yeah. I'll grab a few others just in case. Oh, my wedding dress is back there. That's so cool. I've got asked questions where I got my wedding dress, and Grant's grandma made it. I know some of you guys know that, but probably newer viewers don't, and I do have a lot of new viewers. Please subscribe to my channel. I do like mommy content and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Okay, I'm gonna put this backdrop on. I have little knickknacks if they want to use any of it. And then she brought all her goody gumdrops here. I have some pictures that she put on Pinterest. If we need to use any of those, I brought them out. And here's the fam. So good quality content.
Got lots of foot stains on this backdrop. Lots of foot stains on the dad. 7 days of eternity, 7 days in another country.
I love that one.
Can someone make this disappear? I'm having a crisis down here. And if I can't see you, I lose my mind. I like to be with you all my time. We got time after this, but I need you as my brightest light. Even in the darkest night.
These are so good. Wait, except her head. I guess she matches here. Dun, 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 Ta-da! That's it, girlfriend. That's all you got.
All right, honey, this is your time to shine.
What's he doing?
What's that?
You want to swaddle her up with this, like the doctor? This one?
Come on, doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jones.
Alright, let's see what we got.
Michael swaddling baby. Oh, she's so cute. Oh, we're all falling.
Rags.
Poopy doops. I like that material though, because you can really friggin' tuck and roll.
Yeah.
Tuck and roll
Yeah, the
them
doctor's
kids.
like, I like that.
Sterling, you're freaking, look at your little diaper bag. You little bugger, you. Probably can't even see. You look so cute.
When Dr. Ted came in and was like, yeah, her cord's prolapsed,
Okay.
they had the pediatric hospitalist had contacted Nationwide and was like, this, we have a mom here, you know, 39 and 1.
Heart rate was cool. Her vitals were fine. They weren't really sure if she was going to have to go. And then she had that little seizure and they were like, okay, yeah, she needs to go.
That's what determined it.
She was intubated at 2 minutes after
Intubated, what's that mean?
On a breathing tube. So she had a
Okay.
breathing tube.
Just think intubated. The
Tube
goes
is in,
yeah.
And then 10 minutes after birth, she extubated.
Self-extubated. So she ripped out her breathing tube and was breathing on her own.
She was breathing on her own. Yeah, in the NICU.
I mean, she like pooped like day 1.
She
like,
pooped day 1. She was moving her.
They didn't think she was gonna poop day 1?
well, just like sometimes they, like she didn't eat for 3 days because when they do the hypothermia therapy or whatever they do,
She didn't eat.
they can't feed them because
How did she?
she got sugar water, so
Okay.
like through an IV.
So this was the first picture I sent her mom. We really had no idea what was going on until she
Until you
was
find out information.
because it was so fast
Yeah.
and so urgent
Yeah.
that they were communicating what was going on to each other, but nobody was worried about letting us know because we just
Which makes sense. You gotta get a baby out
there was
Yeah.
no need for us to know
Yeah,
at the time.
you find out
we weren't
after.
gonna help, you know.
Sure, baby.
Hi, big boy.
Good boy.
Like it was so fast,
So-
they had to X-ray me to make sure there was no tools and stuff
Yeah.
left in me because they didn't have time to set up or count.
They weren't gowned up, so like they literally were just in their scrubs.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's why they wear sterile scrubs.
And then you did see her after she came out, like pretty soon though.
Yeah, I saw
And
her.
you were allowed.
Yeah, I saw her. I cut her umbilical cord.
They like took her to the side, and I didn't hear her cry, and like no one was telling me what was going on, so I knew something was wrong.
There was
Yeah.
so many people, and like when I got down there, I was like kind of peeking over. Like I'm with Shelby right here, and they're like straight behind me, and I'm kind of peeking back to try and see what's going on. And I mean, she wasn't moving at all. She was like sprawled out, arms and legs.
Dr. described her as floppy.
Yeah,
Floppy.
she wasn't moving.
Like
at
when he
all.
took her out, she was just so like floppy
She
and like
wasn't making any
lifeless.
noise.
Like she didn't even let out a little squeal or anything.
Wow.
And like they were
She
just
wasn't breathing.
So thank
at all.
God for like, I don't know if it's technology, but just like modern science.
oh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
she has no like
And I mean, we were very fortunate that we were at the hospital. The doctor was on the floor. The pediatric team was already on the floor. So I mean, he didn't have to get called in. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was right there.
It's just minutes.
In the OB.
It's literally minutes at
Yeah.
that
and it could
point.
have been anyone that delivered me. I mean there's a doctor on site always. But
Yeah.
I was just grateful that it was Dr. You know, everything couldn't
I want her to like lay like coming like up, like her head up here and like not all on the pillow. You're so chill, Michael. Shelby's like me and like a girl and like and you just chill like a cucumber.
The whole thing, or just a little bit?
the whole thing. It's pretty
Ew, nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Babe. Oh god.
Oh my God.
Don't walk. Wait, what? Wait, what? How'd that happen?
Oh man.
How'd that?
That's rough.
That's like the
It's like purple. How'd that happen?
So kick this. Did you not hear me kick it?
She's like so tired.
And I put on a good show trying to get discharged out of there, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good.
I kept thinking, like, dude, she just had a C-section. Like, the amount of pain she's got to be in, like. But when you want to see your baby, then.
I was a little wacky on Friday. I was, like, crashing and.
What do you mean?
We were at Target and she was acting like she had, just like she had no idea what she was there for.
Yeah.
And she's like,
wow.
We were there for snacks for the hotel. And we're standing in the snacks in Target, and there's like granola bars, and what else did you get? Cereal bars. There was like anything she would want. And
I just walk in the aisle.
She just like walked 3 laps, and there's only like 2 aisles of snacks in this Target. And she's just like walking circles for 15 minutes.
Cute ending, reality. Time to get dressed, little girl. Girly girl. Bye guys, let's show Grant's little camping. Little hillbilly, we kicked you out of your house. Big old dog and need your haircut.
Toenails up quick. Yeah.
Oh babe, you're killing it. The beer. Barrett. Yeah, I bet you are, you little camper. Oh, he's holding on to his cloud. Shelby and Michael are leaving in Sterling. Got some good photos of her. I want to edit them. I'm not trying to do photography. I don't want to do photography. I just did that for them, and I happen to have a whole setup because of YouTube. In the next clip will be Shelby telling her birth story.
Lights, camera, action. I knew that like her dad would always like be able to be there, and we didn't really want visitors anyway, so it wasn't a huge like deal that we couldn't have visitors until we got home. I went into it having no expectations. I mean, the one thing I wanted was like where they come out on your chest and you have that first picture, and you know, even the first skin to skin or like the nursing right away, that was like something I didn't get to experience just because of the trauma that did happen. Should add that I had a chance of having a C-section already. I had a previous like pelvic break, so there was already a higher chance of me having a C-section. But even when you have a C-section, they hold them up above the curtain. You know, like you still like get to see your baby. They take the baby back to the room. You know, you still get to experience all that.
So like a lot of the times women forget about C-section. So when they have a C-section, they're like thrown off by it. But you were prepared to have a C-section if it happened. Yeah. You're going to try to go naturally. Your body was doing it, but if it had to be a C-section, so be it.
And that was the one thing.
And you still could have that moment with her.
And that was the one thing I told my doctor, that if I was going to have a C-section, then I didn't want it to be an emergent C-section. I got induced, a voluntary induction at 39 weeks one day. She had full-term, healthy, voluntary induction, so I went in on a Monday night, on Monday the 11th, and I got Cervidil to soften my cervix. The Cervidil doesn't dilate you necessarily, it just softens your cervix so that you can dilate. I started Pitocin about 8:30 Tuesday morning. The contractions all night, even with the Cervidil, were like intense. Like I couldn't sleep.
That means you naturally were having contractions, right? Because Pitocin starts contractions, so you naturally, your body was doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing what they checked me and I was 2 centimeters dilated, and she's like, if Dr. is here, do you want him to break your water? And I was like, sure. I didn't want to get the epidural until I was dilating because I didn't want to be like stuck in bed. If that makes sense. Yeah. I wanted to like keep walking, and I didn't want to be at a 0 and then get the epidural and like So once they said I was at a 2, like, so then I was like, okay, like I think I'll get the epidural like sooner than later after he broke my water.
Because of the pain level?
Yeah, it was like, it was really intense. And they had, after they broke my water, they had turned off the Pitocin because I was dilating on my own. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you feel a difference between when Pitocin started and when water broke started? Like, was it higher or was it just constant before all of that? It just was your
It was constant the whole time, even when I had the Cervidil. Like, it hurt so bad. Like, I mean, when they explain it as like period cramps, like times 100, that's literally what it is. Agree. Like, all I wanted to do was sit on the toilet. That's how I felt.
Yeah. And like, you really feel it. I already asked her this, but you really feel it like coming on. You feel it at its peak and you feel it coming down. It's so weird. I
guess I'll add, like, all night long she kept coming, the baby's heartbeat kept coming off the monitor because she just would move around. She was super stubborn my whole pregnancy. Like, you know, I could never feel her move or anything like that.
When she FaceTimed me after you got your Pitocin in the morning, you had mentioned then at 8 o'clock or whatever it was that baby was coming on and off the monitor. And me, when I heard that, I just thought, like, because Weston did the same thing, because like the monitors just slipped. So I was thinking it wasn't baby. I was thinking it was monitor slipping, nurses coming. Like, that happens a lot. So that's what I thought.
I didn't think anything of it, but the whole time she's doing my epidural, or he's doing my epidural, she's like trying to position the monitor to make sure she's monitoring the baby the whole time. She was like probably at it half an hour, 45 minutes trying to get her like back on the monitor. Wow. And I mean, she had a heartbeat. It wasn't like she didn't have a heartbeat or anything like that. It's just like they just couldn't find her on the monitor.
So was the cord of prolapse when after the water broke, or you don't know when it did?
It was like, so what happened was, I'll tell you. Yeah, 11:38 I got my epidural and I was like feeling good. And then she came in and she's like, I'm gonna put your catheter in, because once you get your epidural and you're in bed, you have to get a catheter. And then she said Dr. told her to put baby on an internal monitor, so it's something they insert so that, and it goes like on their head so that they can monitor them a little more. When the other nurse came in, they just started saying like, we need to get her on her hands and knees, we need to get her on her hands and knees. And like, so it's, you know, Michael and 2 other nurses in my room, and I just got an epidural, literally numb from my like waist down.
Yeah, wow.
And they're like saying, oh, we need to get her on her hands and knees, and I'm just
like, dude, I'm jelly, I can't feel anything.
Like, I'm like thinking like, okay, like, this is weird. Like, I kind of like thought, like, I didn't process it. I just kind of thought it was like a joke. Like, I don't know why they didn't get me on my hands and knees. Like, maybe I've just progressed like really far, and like I didn't process why.
Yeah.
And I actually had made a joke to my nurse when I was getting my epidural about she's like, she had apologized about like trying to get her on the monitor, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm not worried until there's a room full of nurses and you're rushing me down to the operating room.
You literally said those words?
Yeah.
We worked at the hospital. She still works at the hospital. So like, we've heard stories, we've seen things, we know what they call like
stat, C-section.
That's also, I think, why the expectation piece is so huge, because we've seen it, we've heard about it. So that's
I wasn't like worried. I had like made that joke, but I wasn't worried because everything was going so smooth. Like, I was literally progressing like I should. Great. Like, everything was
quick.
Yeah, like quickly. I probably would have had a baby within 2 hours, like naturally.
Yeah, that's insane.
After the second nurse, they're like flopping me all around, like just like I'm a fish, you know. Michael's helping them, trying to hold me up, and I'm like, and then Dr. comes in, and there's a whole like slew of nurses, and they're like putting an oxygen mask on me, and that's when I was like, okay, like something's wrong. Like, when they're like putting an oxygen mask on me, and I just like started crying, and I hear them call for a stat C-section. So what had happened was her cord went, it's called a prolapse cord, so her cord had gone in front of her head.
Umbilical cord.
Her umbilical cord.
And the umbilical cord is literally the supply to the baby.
Yeah, the oxygen,
everything.
The blood flow, So it had gone in front of her head, so every time, and then it had like fell in my cervix. So my cervix is only like 2 centimeters dilated, like very barely open. Her cord had fell in, so every time I would have a contraction, her head would contract down onto my cervix, but it was also pressing on her cord, meaning that she was cutting off the blood flow and the oxygen to her brain. And you know, what they had to do was a nurse had to hold her head up off of my cervix. Inside me. Every time that I would contract, she would, her hand was in there so it wouldn't go down on the cord. So, and then she did that all the way down the hallway to the operating room until she was out. Her hand was in me holding her head up. But by the time I was in the operating room for 6 minutes. From the time they realized her cord was prolapsed until the time she was out, it was 9 minutes. So they took me for a stat C-section.
So the nurse was literally on her bed with her hand inside her.
Yeah.
And they were rushing her down the hall.
Yeah.
To get in the C-section room, and then that's freaking fast. They weren't even able to gown up, right?
Yeah. So they like scrub in for a C-section and stuff, and like it was just they were in scrubs and stuff like that. I don't know what to think. You know, I'm asking like, can someone just let me know what's going on? Because they're not telling me anything. Like, they're talking amongst themselves, but they're not telling me anything. Like, I understand why, but like, I can't feel my legs from, so. Yeah. And thank God I got my epidural when I did, because I was awake during the whole thing. They were able to just kind of give me a little bit more and numb me. What? Like, more medicine to like numb me. But
for the C-section?
For the C-section, because they normally do like a spinal.
Interesting.
But if not, they would have knocked me out. So normally when you have a C-section, they like cut them out and you hear them cry, like still like when they come out, and they hold them above the curtain, and they're like
still just as beautiful.
Yeah,
as
and they're like,
bird.
oh, it's a girl, and then you take them to the warmer and they clean them up, and you still get to see them like while they're finishing. Yeah, while they're finishing like stitching you up. Well, they cut her out of me so fast, and I mean, the doctor explained to me that he like cut me open. Like normally they'll like
here, get back, bud.
They'll like burn nerves and like burn like blood vessels so it's not so bloody, but he just like sliced me open. And
let's mention our this doctor that she had is like the best in the area.
When she came out, they didn't hold her above the curtains, and I didn't hear her cry. And obviously I'm in there by myself, so I'm just like asking like, is everything okay? And you know, there's like pediatric doctors in there, and there's the special care nursery, there's, you know, just a whole team of people in there, like way more than there normally is. So I just knew,
like the head of the floor.
Yeah, like the manager of the floor was in there. Like I just knew like something was not right. And I just kept asking like, is she okay? Because I didn't hear her cry. And Michael finally came in, and they talked to him and explained everything that was going on, and explained that her cord was prolapsed. So she
explained to both you and Michael at the same time.
Just him.
So you still didn't know?
He still got to cut her umbilical cord, but I think they were just trying to keep me like cool, calm, and collected, you know, because I mean they were still sewing me up, like,
yeah.
And
I mean that all happened so quickly.
They explained she came out and she was quote unquote limp, so she wasn't breathing when she came out. Her heart was beating, but she wasn't breathing. So she was without oxygen for 2 minutes. So then they intubated her, and then at 10 minutes she was breathing on her own, but she was still intubated. And then they ended up taking her to the special care nursery, and she self-extubated, so she, you know, ripped out her own breathing tube. Yeah,
which is great.
Is great. And she was breathing on her own. Like, yeah, she was breathing on her own. She was crying. She was moving her arms and her legs. So they had mentioned life flighting her out to like the local children's hospital, like probably 2 hours away from where we live, nationwide. And they had mentioned it, so they had called the doctors, like the nationwide doctors, when they knew my cord was prolapsed. Once the life flight team got there, she had a seizure. And they explained it like she was like bicycling her hands and her legs, like that's how the seizure was. And she was like smacking her lips, like after she had the seizure, that automatically made her the perfect candidate for the hypothermia therapy, for the therapeutic hypothermia, which it's where they put them on this cooling blanket and they lower their body temperature to 33.5 degrees Celsius. So they cool everything down, which is to like slow their brain down and their organs down so it can rest, and they do that for 72 hours. And then after the
that's crazy.
And then after the 72 hours, they bring her body temperature back up, which is about a 6-hour process. They go half a degree, like I think every hour or something like that, and they bring it back up to 36.5 degrees Celsius, which is about 97 degrees. And this whole time she's on this cooling, she's getting this cooling done. She can't eat. So
that's crazy. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so mind you, she got life flighted right away. I mean, I saw her like on the gurney and intubator, like getting life flighted. I didn't get to do skin to skin. I, didn't get to spend the first 24 hours.
Hardly see her.
Hardly see her. Didn't get to spend the first 24 hours like, in the hospital.
Your boyfriend's leaving you to go be with the baby, and there's this pandemic going on.
Yeah, so I sent him to be with her. I was like, go.
I would do the same thing.
Go be with her. I started pumping right away, which was like amazing.
That's awesome.
And it's exhausting, because she spent 8 days in the NICU, and I was exhausted those first 5 days because not because I was waking up with my baby. It's because I was up every 3 hours pumping, tricking my body into thinking, But she also had like an EEG machine on her head that for the 3 days that monitored if she had any more seizures.
Can they have seizures where it doesn't look like they're having a seizure, but it's like internal?
Yeah. So they can have like physical ones, and then they could have like silent seizures and stuff like that too. But so she didn't have any more seizures, which is like amazing. She had like a thermometer that went down her throat to the center of her stomach. Wow. Yeah, the first 72 hours after she was born too, that she got it out. So I didn't get to see her for the first time until Thursday. She was born on Tuesday. So after 48 hours, I got to see her.
When did you leave the hospital?
Like
after
barely at my 24-hour mark.
So I was in the hospital longer by a day.
And normally it's like you have to...
For C-section.
Yeah. First time mom. They give you medicine when you have your C-section that doesn't even wear off for 24 hours. So obviously that helped. And I didn't feel that bad. I mean, I was in pain. I was sore. But I feel like my C-section, for especially being how emergent it was, that it's not as bad as everyone,
the pain wise,
as everyone says it is. I mean, it's definitely, I was definitely sore. I mean, and you still bleed like you would if you, but I mean, I would imagine you were just as sore with your second degree tear. I mean, I was sore.
And I feel like the adrenaline of just knowing my baby is not with me is just get me out of this hospital.
Yeah. I mean, by Friday, I crashed. I was so tired. I couldn't, I'm pumping every 3 hours. I'm taking ibuprofen every 4, or Tylenol every 4. I'm trying to keep track of all those times. I've been on the phone with doctors.
Parents are probably wondering what's going on.
Yeah, and mind you, so
people
we're obviously in the middle of coronavirus, so me and my boyfriend couldn't be up at the hospital together, so we didn't get to see her together until she was a week old.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And didn't you mention it was it was not only one parent at a time, but it's one parent a day. So if Michael is there Wednesday, Michael's there Wednesday.
Yeah. The crucial thing was they couldn't do an MRI until she was a week old. The MRI determined if she had any brain damage from the lack of oxygen. At a week old, they did her MRI, and it showed no brain damage. They couldn't see anything. They did another test, which I'm not positive on the name of it, but it pretty much just showed that she did lose oxygen to her brain for a short period of time, which is something we already knew. Her physical exam looks great. She moves her arms, she responds, she cries, she eats, she, does everything a normal baby does. But, we don't know the long-term effects that it might have. So, she might have a learning disability, or, she might not be hitting her milestones at 3 months when she should be, or at 6 months when she should be. But that's just... things will take one day at a time, and we'll just...
Were you there when she went in for the MRI?
Yeah, that was the first day we got to go up and be there together to see her. So
how long till you got the news back?
The doctor actually called me that night, personally from
home. So it was a while. And how were your emotions? How were you feeling, waiting for the results?
I was fine, because it's just crazy, she's in a neonatal intensive care unit there's babies there, like I talked to the nurses, there's babies there that are there for the first year of their life, you know. There's babies there that are born at 28 weeks, like, and my full-term baby is in the NICU.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Like, and she's perfectly healthy. She was probably the healthiest baby there. And
Aww.
so once she was warm and the neurologist had told us that she was already healthy, that's when it was, I think, hard, like, to leave her. And when I got to nurse her and she started eating, and I
just wanted her home.
I got to hold her. It's just, I knew nothing was wrong, even if there was minor damage. That she needed to be home, but it was just a waiting game. So it was so hard just to leave my baby at the hospital.
Wow, that's interesting.
While, you know, and there's just like so many firsts that you miss out on. Like I didn't get to give her first bath with, you know, her dad, that I had to FaceTime him. He didn't get to see me hold her first. I didn't get to see him hold, you know, we take advantage of, for granted. Yeah, you see, like, you know, like you watch on YouTube, like first 24 hours with a newborn, and like I didn't get to experience that. And I mean, everyone just kept telling us like how well we were handling it, but it's like, you don't have a choice. It's just what you have to do for the best interest of your child. And you know, I didn't have time to freak out. I didn't even have time to think, and it was really overwhelming with the, you know, amount of people that reached out. And you know, we appreciate it, and it was so, like, I'm so grateful for everyone's prayers and thoughts and, you know, everything. But it's overwhelming. It's a lot when, you know, you have hundreds of people texting and calling and trying to keep everyone updated. And but she's healthy, little 7-pound baby. 8 days old. She got to come home, and you know, I mean, she's normal. She's a great baby. She really barely cries, but even like her cry, like I just like to hear her cry, just because that's like something I didn't even get to hear. Like she couldn't even, I mean, she didn't even cry like at the hospital, like when she was in the NICU, really, because, and just to see her like so cold was like so sad. Like I mean, she's just in her diaper and she's like shaking, and she's just,
when she's on the blanket, are you talking?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
She's just like literally just so cold. Like, I mean, imagine if your body was 92 degrees and you can't get covered, and you're not eating, so she's getting like sugar water through an IV, so she's hungry. And when I went there, like, obviously she could like smell my milk and stuff, so she was like more frustrated because she's cold and she's hungry. And
but you just placed all your trust in the doctors. You knew she's the best, at the best place.
Yeah. It's crucial that they start the cooling process within 6 hours.
It's awesome that you were at the hospital when this happened, because prolapsed cords
I mean,
it can happen at home.
Yeah,
you can be in between your doctor's appointments.
If my water would have broke at home and I was dilated and I had waited to go to the hospital, you know, I can't say the results would have been the same. I kept telling my doctors and my nurses and, you know, everyone really that helped me and helped take care of her, like how appreciative I was of them. And, you know, ultimately they saved my baby's life. And, you know, everyone just keeps saying like, oh, you're awesome, you did so amazing. And it's like, what did I do amazing? Like, you know, I was numb from my legs down, and I got cut open and my baby got taken away from me. Like, you know, I was calm, but that's all I could. I mean, it was a situation that wasn't in my control.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't think that way.
Yeah.
And even me, like, it was a huge wake-up call to me, because at that time, I mean, she's 2 weeks old now.
Yeah.
And Weston's like 3 months and like a week or something. But so I was getting ready to get out of that like postpartum stage. And for me, like, I loved my pregnancy, but my postpartum stage was like hard for me. And I was very like kind of negative on it, because it was just hard for me. But hearing that, it was just like, I'm so blessed for like what I got with him. And like Shelby just was like a rock star through her. Well, of course I'm the person to cry. She was like, just seeing Shelby FaceTimed me after everything went down, and like just the things that she would say that like she witnessed and that Michael witnessed with their baby. It's just like amazing at the outlook that she had, and I would not have been the same. And then I have my healthy baby at home, and Shelby doesn't have that for 8 days. It's a huge wake-up call that moms just need to hear. And it is just so inspiring to me the way that, and she says that she doesn't understand why nurses kept saying like thank you, but it's because people aren't that way, and people can be upset with doctors for taking away babies and stuff like that, but that's what doctors are there for. That's what they need to do for your baby's life. And Shelby understood that, and she trusted, she had complete trust in her doctors, but not everyone is that way. So,
and too, like, I mean, it goes back to, I mean, I had no expectations. I didn't know how things would turn out, but this was the last thing I expected. I mean, I'm going into
a life flight.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going into a voluntary induction, and, you know, they say sometimes when you get induced, you end up in a C-section, which is fine. I wasn't scared of a C-section, but I never would have thought I wouldn't have my baby for 8 days, and she would have got life flighted 2 hours away, and, you know, I just got a C-section. I can't drive myself 2 hours to go see her. I can't even drive from where we were staying to go up to the hospital.
And everything was so healthy. Like, you didn't have any blood pressure things.
Yeah,
like,
no.
you didn't have...
I had
like,
no problems. I mean,
I tested positive for whatever that is, GBS. You didn't do that. Like,
no,
everything was perfect.
Yeah, my doctor was, you know, he told me every time, like, keep doing what you're doing great. Like, you know, she's healthy, I'm healthy. Like, so that was literally the last thing I would have, if I had any expectations, that's the last thing I would have expected ever.
Mm-hmm. And when I was even, like, when I worked at the hospital and I heard different stories that could happen with an OB and stuff, I would hear like a baby getting life flighted away from their mom, and I had heard that, and I'm like, I can't imagine what your heart would feel, or just imagining you are at this hospital and your baby's being taken away from you, but let alone it being during the pandemic. And
yeah. I think that was the hardest thing too. It's not even like, I mean, thank God they made accommodations that my mom could come up after he had left, or I would have been by myself, and I don't know how, like, I would have handled that, but that, I think that was definitely the hardest thing, was not being able to be together as a family, not being able to experience it. Like, I think
the three of you all together.
The three of us together. I think it would have been a way different experience if we could have been there together, mm-hmm. like all three of us, but it wasn't an option.
Yeah. It's very interesting to me that you said what was the hardest part is when you knew she was healthy and she couldn't be home.
Yeah.
Because I would think the hardest part is when you don't know she's healthy and she's away, but your outlook is that she's in the best place, so I want her to be there. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, like, and to, like, the MRI, I wasn't worried. Like I said, I wasn't worried. It was just a, you know, it was more of a formality. We had to wait for a week, so she had to be there still. But that's when she started doing, like, when I got to hold her and do skin to skin, and I got to nurse her, and I was allowed to change her diapers, and I was allowed to do that, that's what made me feel like a mom.
Aw.
You know, like, not... Because it's, like I said, I was exhausted from waking up every 3 hours. I wasn't exhausted from waking up every 3 hours with my baby. It's definitely little things you take for granted. Like I said, the one thing I wanted was her coming out on my chest, and all my first pictures I have of her are her with wires and cords and IVs and everything else.
And I say, like, I don't know what I would have done in that situation. Like, I don't know how you did it, but you don't know. You would probably have said the same thing. Like, you don't know until you're put in the situation.
Yeah, and I mean, and in that moment, you have no option but, like you said, to trust in the doctors. Like, this, like, it was literally something that was not in my control that I could have a say in. And, I mean, the only thing I could do, I felt like in the moment that I could do to take care of my baby was pump
milk.
Yeah, my milk, you know.
Yeah.
And that was
that's huge.
Only thing that was important to me was, you know, making sure that I was gonna be able to nurse her and give her my milk. Their plan was they were gonna come, because they weren't allowed to visit, so they were gonna come to the parking lot. They like made a sign that said like "Welcome Sterling" and stuff like that. So his mom was like waiting, like when he had texted her.
That's
was
sweet.
Like, yeah.
When did Michael leave? Like, did he meet Sterling, or like did he leave before Sterling left?
No, so we got to see her before she got life flighted. They brought her in, and we got to like touch her hand and see her. And then
was she in a cupboard?
Yeah,
one?
like an intubator or whatever.
Come on, get down.
Or incubator.
Incubator.
Yeah.
Absolutely insanity, and not what you expect.
Yeah, I have pictures of like everything. I don't know if it's sent you.
You want me to include this?
I don't care. I didn't post them because, like, here's her. Like, this is the first time I saw her. So cute.
Oh.
But yeah.
Aw, that's such a sweet picture.
Yeah, that was my first time I saw her.
Aww.
And that was the thing too, is like I had posted on Facebook just to kind of like let everyone know at once. It wasn't like for sympathy. It wasn't like, because everyone knew I was getting induced, so I'm sure they were waiting for me to post like pictures of her and stuff like that. So I like posted it on Facebook, like just, you know, to like keep me in their thoughts, like, and stuff like that. It wasn't for sympathy. It wasn't for people to feel bad for me. So it was important to me that I didn't post the first picture of her with all those tubes and wires and stuff like that, because I didn't.
That's not her story. It's not who she is.
Want people, you know, I didn't want people's first like thought of her being like that. And
I mean, it is her story, but
yeah, I didn't want people's like first like, you know, introduction of her with tubes and wires and stuff on her. And like I'm not posting it for like people to feel bad, you know, and I feel like that's what a lot of people would think, and I just didn't think it was necessary for me to post pictures like that.
Yeah, and it's personal. Whatever you want to share or not share, it's completely.
I mean, and a lot of them like, you know, make my stomach like cringe. Like, imagine seeing your.
I mean, it's traumatic. It would be traumatic.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm 110% traumatized.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the NICU nurses told me like, you'll remember this more than she will. Like, obviously she's not going to remember it, but it's traumatic. And you know, doctor said you're the perfect candidate for a VBAC, but I like a vaginal birth after delivery, or after a cesarean. And he said that, you know, I have the perfect anatomy to have a vaginal birth. It wasn't anything that was wrong with me, like that happened.
It just happens.
Yeah, and I mean, and it doesn't happen often. I think like 1 in 300 women have a prolapsed cord.
Wow.
So it doesn't happen often.
But it's nothing
Nothing I did, nothing she did. I mean, nothing that anyone could have prevented.
Everything is total.